Now let's come to the third class of our polity session. Till now I have covered two important aspects of our polity session. One is preamble and the other one is Election Commission of India. Now let's come to the next topic. This topic is one of the most important aspect of our polity session, as well as this important topic has an really important aspect in our constitution. Today our topic is fundamental rights. So let's come to the new topic. This is fundamental rights. Let's see and hear me clearly. Okay, what I am telling you, just be attentive towards me right now. See, fundamental rights. Fundamental rights are the rights which are given to each and every individuals of that particular nation, okay, which is enforceable by the courts and enforceable against the courts, okay, and which is guaranteed by the fundamental law of land, that is constitution. So fundamental rights are guaranteed rights. These are guaranteed rights, guaranteed by constitution and enforced by courts, okay. So let's go deep inside this topic and move to the next slide. Let's see origin of fundamental rights at global level. See, there is some history behind any origin. So the origin of fundamental rights may be traced somewhere back, okay. So let's see. This is not as important as purpose of UPSC, but you should know about it. However, it may possible that in few days UPSC may ask that this kind of question also belonging to the perspective part, okay. So let's see. In 1215, a king named King John has given certain rights to its people. Certain rights to its people. In 1215, King John has given certain rights to its people, okay. That set of rights is known as Magna Carta. Magna Carta, okay. Magna Carta. But actually this is unofficial, this is not written. That is why we don't count it as official. We will count only those aspects as official that is in written form, okay. So we will target USA. USA is the first country which has given the rights, that is guaranteed rights known as fundamental rights, to its citizens, okay. So USA is the first country to provide guaranteed rights to its citizens, and that set of rights given to its people by USA Constitution is known as Bill of Rights, okay. Bill of Rights, remember this name, okay. Bill of Rights. Bill of Rights has been performed by which constitution? That is performed by United States of American Constitution, okay. So officially USA is the first country who entitled guaranteed rights to his citizens. That set of rights is known as Bill of Rights. I hope this is understandable to all of you, okay. And one important aspect, that initially from the starting provision of American Constitution, they did not provide fundamental rights. They provided fundamental rights by doing certain amendments. They have done almost 10 amendments in their constitution to give the guaranteed rights to his citizens, okay. Now let's come to next slide, okay students. We will move to our next slide, that is fundamental rights in India. Right now we have talked fundamental rights as part of Magna Carta by King John, as well as we have talked about fundamental rights in USA as Bill of Rights. Now we will talk about fundamental rights in India. Okay. So unlike United States of America, India has mentioned the provision of fundamental rights, the guaranteed rights, from the initial point of constitution preparing time. India doesn't need any amendment to enter the provision of fundamental rights. Unlike USA has done certain amendments. Okay. Originally, USA Constitution does not have any fundamental rights. They have done certain amendments in their constitution to input the guaranteed rights. But in Indian Constitution, you will find that from initial point of time, from the origin of constitution date, these guaranteed rights, these fundamental rights have been clearly mentioned in part 3 of the Indian Constitution, okay, from article 12 to article 35. Okay. This is that fundamental rights in Indian Constitution have been clearly mentioned in part 3 of the Constitution. Indian Constitution has divided in certain parts. Okay. Indian Constitution has divided in certain parts. I will cover one by one all. Okay. Let's remember that fundamental rights has come in part 3 of the Indian Constitution. Okay. From article 12 to article 35. Okay. So these are the guaranteed rights. Okay. So I am writing a definition for all of you, okay, of the fundamental rights. Please don't remember it, just clear your concept about it. Okay. See, fundamental rights are those rights which are given to individuals as guaranteed rights, that is enforceable by the courts and against the states. Okay. These fundamental rights are guaranteed by the fundamental law of land, that is our constitution, the Constitution of India. See, fundamental rights, see it clearly, fundamental rights are those rights which are given to individuals, the people of India. These rights have been given to the people of India as guaranteed rights. These are the guaranteed rights. These rights are the guaranteed rights. Okay. That is enforceable by the courts. Suppose these rights have not been provided, then by which authority these rights will be given to each and every individual? Then by the courts. Court will say to the government of India that look, provide this facility because these are the guaranteed rights of each and every individual. So that is enforceable by the state against the state, enforceable by the court against the state. These fundamental rights are guaranteed by the fundamental law of land. It means these fundamental rights are guaranteed by our constitution itself. Okay, this is what I am telling you. Fine. Now I am moving to the next slide. Okay students, our next slide is about an overview of articles related with fundamental rights. Okay, so let's see it quickly. Right to equality. Okay, right to equality, article 14 to article 18, that covers right to equality. Right to freedom, article 19 to article 22. Okay, right against exploitation, article 23 to 24. This is about religious freedom, which religious you want to profess, you can follow. This is about article 25 to 28. Cultural and educational rights. These are rights which related with cultural and educational purposes, that is 29 and 30. Constitutional remedies, that is one of the most important fundamental right, that is article 32. Okay, so here you can say that article 12 and article 13 and article 31 as well as article 33, 34, 35 is missing. Why? What is the reason behind it? I will tell you later, but I will cover all these. Okay, we will start with article 12 and 13, don't mind it. Okay, so this is not memorable. Okay, please don't memorize it, it will not come under UPSC exam. Just overview it. Okay, just overview it 1 or 2 times. Okay, you will remember itself by overviewing it, don't try to memorize it. Okay, now let's do the slide. Just next slide. Okay, I am waiting for the next slide so I can move further. This is about article 12. Now see, one thing I want to mention here clearly, that article 12 in real terms does not define and does not mention any fundamental right. Okay, article 12 itself does not mention any fundamental rights. It is about the definition of a state. Article 12 is about the definition of a state only for part 3 of the constitution, the definition of a state, not for the whole constitution. It is only for part 3 of the constitution. Wherever a state term will come in part 3 of the constitution, means wherever the term a state will come from article 12 to article 35, we have to understand that a state as 5 to 6 terms. What are those 5 to 6 terms? I will explain right now. So article 12 clearly says that what is a state or what should not be considered as a state, both should be clearly visible, so that fundamental rights will be enforced against that state. Okay, so I think the next slide will cover all these. Yes, this is about definition of a state, students. Okay, let's see, definition of a state means what? Okay, so definition of a state means, first of all you can look at Government of India is considered as a state for part 3 of the Indian constitution, only for part 3 of the Indian constitution. For remaining, it may be understandable as a state or it may not. Okay, I am not saying that it is for this and it can't be for other part, it may be for other part too, but it is mandatory for part 3 of the constitution. So whenever you talk about article 12 to article 35, wherever the term a state will come, you have to take your mind in all these 6 terms. I think 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 terms. Okay, so first one is Government of India, second one is Parliament. Parliament means what? Lok Sabha as well as Raj Sabha, because Parliament consists of 2 houses, lower house, upper house. Okay, so both the houses will come under the definition of a state for part 3 of the Indian constitution. Okay students, now let's next point, government of a state. Government of a state means respective states, means it's a Delhi state, okay, UT or a state, anything to make it. Okay, it's a UP, it's Maharashtra, it's Bihar, these are the respective states. Okay, fine, it's MP. So the government of these particular states are also considered as a states for part 3 of the Indian constitution for covering of fundamental rights that comes from Article 12 and last two Article 35. Okay, these 3 points have been cleared. No, from that point this one. Okay, legislature of a state. Okay, every respective state has legislative assembly. Even few states have legislative councils too. Okay, so legislative assembly, those states who have only legislative assembly will be considered as under a state, and those states who have legislative assembly as well as legislative council, those states have both these houses. So both these houses of that states will be considered as a state. Okay, if any state has only this house, it will be understandable as a state. If any state has both houses, both will be understandable as a state. Okay, now next thing, I hope these 4 points have been cleared. Now next thing, private bodies also considered as a state only when they perform the duty of a state. Okay, private bodies will also be considered as a state by condition that if they are performing on behalf of the state or if they are doing the duty of a state. Okay, so it is cleared. Fine. Now any other local authority within India or outside India but within the control of India will be considered as a state. Okay, means there are so many local authority present in so many local areas. If they are India or even they are outside India, if they are India or even they are outside India, but it is compulsory for them that if they are within the control of government of India, then they will be treated as a state. Okay, fine. I hope all these 5 points have been clear to you. So I am moving to the next slide, students. Our next slide is about Article 13, and Article 13 is also not dealing with any fundamental rights. You may be surprised that, sir, I have told you that Article 12 to Article 35 has come under fundamental rights, but neither Article 12 nor Article 13. Okay, so neither Article 12 nor either 13. So this Article 13 and 12 actually not covering fundamental rights. So neither Article 12 nor Article 13 discuss about fundamental rights. So what Article 13 do? Article 13 does that it defines what is law. Okay, so what is law is more complicable. Okay, it's more complex, it's more than diverse. It's easy for us to understand and what is not law. Okay, so we will understand here that what is not a law. So if there is not a law, then the remaining thing will be a law. Okay, fine. Are you getting my point? That if something is not law, then the remaining thing is a law. Okay, fine. So we will understand here that what is not a law. Okay, so let's see clearly. Anything, any action, any legislation, any order, okay, any amendment, it means any action taken by government, taken by a state, any action taken by a state, any legislation made by parliament or legislative assembly, or any order issued by the government of a state, or, okay, or any amendment done by the Parliament of India or legislative assembly, if these are inconsistent or in derogation, if they are inconsistent or in derogation with Constitution of India or Part 3 of the Constitution of India, then they will be termed as null and void. null and void means these action, legislation, order, amendment, these will be terminated, ended, okay, by whom? It will be by courts, okay. Through which process? Through judicial review process, through judicial review process, okay, fine. So understand it, I am repeating it once time. If any action, any order, any legislation, anything, if they are violating, they are distracting the soul of the constitution, the part 3 of the constitution, so what court will do that? They can ended up that action, legislation, they can terminate that action by the process of judicial review, okay, fine. So these are not considered as law. Those law, those order, those action, those legislation, those amendment which are violating the constitution of India, those will never become a law, okay, those will never become a law. So except these things, all things will be considered as law. I hope you will get my point and you have gotten my point, okay. So let's come to the next slide. Fine. Our next slide is about Article 14. What Article 14 actually mean? Article 14 contains two concepts, okay students. Article 14 concept, two concept. So Article 14 has two contents in it. The first content is that equality before law. Equality before law, that is a British concept, okay, also called as negative concept. Second is it's a equal protection of law, okay, equal protection of law, it's an American concept as well as it's a positive concept. What does both mean? It may getting confusion to all of you, okay. So I am making more visibility on these both topics, okay, fine. So let's see on first content. Equality before law means, it means here if law is standing and here are the persons, here are the people of that nation, okay, here are the people of that nation, so in front of that law, friend, in front of that law everyone is equal, everyone will be treated as equal, okay. For that law everyone is equal, equality before law, this is British concept, okay, and this is also termed as negative concept because at some point of time this is proved to be inconsistent. How? I will tell you right now after clarifying this content. Now let's come to the this content. Equal protection of law. Equal protection of law means it is considered that in equal protection of law there should be reasonable restriction. There should be reasonable restriction. There should be reasonable restriction. Somehow restriction should be applicable, okay, so that it is going to more dynamic and more dynamic as well as more diverse in a more and more flexible way, okay. So equal protection to what? They said that there should be reasonable restriction, and one famous judgment of Supreme Court once said that, one quoted line, that line is like should be treated as like should be treated as like, but unlike should not be treated as like. Like should be treated as like should be treated as like, but unlike should not be treated as like. That means suppose this term is related with this one, okay. Suppose one person named as A, and here is one person named as Z, here is one person named as B. This is a 8 years child and this is a 20 years male. Okay. So, if he has done a heinous crime, okay, or even do any kind of crime, and he has murdered this person, shooted on this person, even throwing a bomb on this person, and he killed him. Okay. Another way is that if this is a boy 8 years old, he is playing in a park. Okay. By playing time, he found that something like toys, okay, getting around him. So he picked up, and in real, actually that is a small bomb, hand grenade type, and he has played with him, and after some time he has thrown the bomb by understanding it twice to this person, and this person died. So can we justify both these crimes as one category? Okay, I hope all of you are getting it. So that's because here USA launched the concept of equal protection of law. It means there should be never restriction. Okay, that like should be treated as like, but unlike should not be treated as like. Okay, like should be treated as like, but unlike should not be treated as unlike. Okay. So I hope all of you have got it. Now I am moving to the next slide. But India have adopted both of these concepts. Remember it. Okay. And which concept will work? Which concept will work in which case, at which time, it will depend upon our judiciary, that either content number A is being followed or content number B is being followed. It is upon judiciary to realize that which of the following should be followed in that particular case. Okay. Now I am waiting for the next slide. Now let's come to the next slide, that is article 15. Fine. Let's see, I have already told you that article number 14 to article number 18 deals with right to equality. So article 14 actually gives right to equality for all of the citizens. Okay. Now article 15 does the same thing. Actually article 15 protecting the people from discrimination on certain grounds. Let's see, article 15 says that, clearly says that there will be no discrimination. No discrimination, yes, there will be no discrimination, but on certain grounds, these are the certain grounds. Okay, only on these certain grounds there will be no discrimination. Even in these certain grounds there is exception too. Okay, there may be discrimination, there can be discrimination, government can do discrimination on any grounds except these grounds. Okay, government can do any kind of discrimination, a state can do any kind of discrimination if they want, but except these 5 discrimination. Okay. Supreme Court said once that different treatment does not mean discrimination. Okay. If suppose 2 persons, one is standing here and another is standing here, okay, then it is the duty of the state to provide equal opportunity for both of them to reach at the same level. Okay. So initial point of view, this person is here and this person is here, so it is possible that a state is here, a state, so a state can discriminate among them, so that this person reach to that point, and after reaching that point they are equal playing field and they have equal chances of reaching that point. That is why here is one Supreme Court said that different treatment is not discrimination. If a state will provide some compensation to this person to reaching at that point, and this state is not compensating this person because this person has already reached at this point, okay, then it will not be considered as discrimination, it will be considered as differential treatment. Okay, so differential treatment can be done, it is allowed at all. Okay, even Supreme Court has accepted it, that Supreme Court accepted what, that if a state or government of India or any government, means a state, will treat differentially, then that differential treatment will be not be considered as discrimination. Fine. So I hope these points have been clear to you. So I am moving to the next slide, that is article number 16. Even you look carefully, you will find that article 15 also deals with right to equality. Okay, article 15 actually provides the right to equality. Now look at article 16, this is also about right to equality in a differential manner. Equal opportunity in public employment, opportunity will be given equally in public employment, not in whole employment. Okay, so in public employment means public job, government job, government can't do discrimination. Okay, government can't do discrimination on these certain grounds. Those 5 grounds are same, that is race, religion, caste, sex, place of birth, that is also mentioned in article 15. Okay, race, religion, caste, sex and place of birth. Another 2 grounds added in article 16, that is descent and residence, So on these 7 points, actually article 7 restricted to discriminate from public employment in accordance with equal opportunity giving. Okay, so I hope all of you are getting it, that in equal opportunity in public employment has been provided. Okay, you can't do discriminate, a state can't do discriminate in providing equal opportunity in public employment on this basis, they can't do discriminate on this basis. Okay, but there are few exceptions in it. Even article 16 clause 3 clearly said that government can make a reservation point of place for them who is not actually who has not adequate representation, or even they are socially, economically, educationally backward. So government may provide them a special reliefs, somewhat like reservations. Okay, so there are few exceptions in it, but in general terms what I have told you is this one exactly. Okay, I hope this one is clear. So can I move to the next slide, students? Okay, I am moving to the next slide, that is article 17. Fine. Article 17 is also about right to equality. Fine. In a different way, abolition of untouchability. Article 17 clearly tells that practice of untouchability should be removed from the society of in a diverse country like India. So abolition of untouchability means, if, let's see clearly, if a state is performing untouchability, then a state is violating article 17, and court, Supreme Court or High Court can direct the state to stop it. Okay, or even they can punish the state. Okay, so if a state is practicing untouchability itself, then this untouchability is actually violating article 17, as here is clearly mentioned that abolition of untouchability. Okay, so untouchability should not be practiced at all. This is what actually article 17 says. Okay, so if they violating, then who will decide what should be happen? Then automatically it will be judiciary. Okay, ultimately it is the judiciary of India who is deciding the key role of part 3 of the Indian constitution, means it is ultimately the judiciary, okay, who kept the fundamental rights as the guaranteed one. Okay, so the court will direct the state to stop it, or even they can punish the state. But what if any individual is performing untouchability against any individual? Actually this is the article number 17. Okay, this is the article number 17, that is also enforceable against the state, against the whole state, and also enforceable against any particular individual. Okay, fine. Article 17 also enforceable against the state as well as individual. Fine. But I have told you about the state. If a state will practice untouchability, then what the process will follow? But what if any individual will practice untouchability against any individual? So in that scene, there are some acts on which basis this individual will be punished. An important act is, here is mentioned, Protection of Civil Liberties Act 1955. It had been amended to, okay. So if any individual is practicing untouchability against any individual, okay, then this process will not follow as like as a state. Separate process will follow, and for that process there are certain acts. One of that main acts is Protection of Civil Liberty Acts 1955, okay, which has been amended to. Okay, fine. Now I am moving to the next slide, students, that deals with Article 18. Okay, students, I hope till now I have covered Article 12 to Article 17 very attentive, and you are very attentive towards whatever I am saying right now. Okay, this is about evolution of titles. See, in earlier times, whenever you read about history or historical aspects, you see that earlier Raja and Maharajas have given their certain titles for themselves, okay, and their descendants also have got those titles. So after independence, for providing right to equality, remember Article 14 to Article 18 is about right to equality. So the founding fathers of our constitution thought that if the titles of the Rajas and Maharajas will continue, then how we will ensure right to equality for all? So they abolished the titles. They made a process in fundamental rights through which these titles will be abolished, and keeping that titles will be considered as illegal. So abolition of titles has happened, okay. But if there are certain exceptions in it, okay, academic qualification like doctor, engineer, chartered accountant, okay, and many other things, so many other things, whatever you can call it. So these are allowed, these titles are allowed, because these are not birth based or descent based, these are merit based, okay. These are allowed. You can use before this name, even you can use these terms after your name, okay. So these are allowed, okay. Even for military, okay, military purposes or military qualification, you can use your name like general, captain, okay, major, etc. These can be used because these are merit wise, not descent or birth based, okay. Titles and awards are different, okay. Awards like Bharat Ratna, Padma Bhushan, Padma Shri, Padma Bhushan, these are awards, not titles, and these awards are not considered under Article 18, Clause 1. Those awards which are considered under Article 18, Clause 1 will be used as, you can use those titles, awards as your suffix and prefix with name. But actually those Bharat Ratna, Padma Bhushan, Padma Bhushan, Padma Shri, those are awards which are highly renowned awards. They are not categorically mentioned in Article 18, Clause 1. That is why those awards and the name of those awards can't be used as suffix or prefixes. Okay, fine. So I hope all of the points have been cleared by me. So I will move to the next slide. That is the most important, one of the most important slide, okay, of today's topic actually. That is Article 19. Actually Article 19 have 7 subclause. Article 19(1), Article 19 Clause 1 have 7 subclause from Article 19 Clause 1A to Article 19 Clause 1 to subclause G. Okay, but at present time it is only 6, because one article of Article 19 Clause A, one subclause of Article 19 subclause Clause A has been removed. Okay, so let's talk about Article 19 Clause A, subclause A. Article 19 Clause 1 subclause A deals with freedom of speech and expression. This is actually the most diverse, which is most commonly used. Okay, so every person, each and every individual has a right to express his views, opinions, okay, faith, beliefs in any form, either painting, writing, singing, teaching, any purpose, okay, any purpose, crafting, any art form, by any mean you can express your views, opinions, faith, belief, okay, you can share your opinion, okay, by any means. Okay, so this is one of the most important aspect of our fundamental rights. Okay, and even freedom of press is also included in this one. Freedom of press is included in this one, implicit, not clearly mentioned, but we can automatically understand that if freedom of writing, printing, painting, all things, teaching, arting, crafting, printing, all things have been given in it, so automatically rights of freedom of press has been included in it. Okay, but there are some reasonable restrictions on it. Okay, fine. The reasonable restrictions are, the first one is that security of the nation, okay, integrity, even unity, even public order should not be disturbed. Okay, if your opinion and views disrupt public order, your opinion and views is harmful for the security of the nation and unity of the nation, integrity of the nation, sovereignty of the nation, then the government can restrict the freedom of speech and expression. Fine. I hope these points have been cleared. So I am moving to the next slide. That is Article 19 Clause 1 subclause B. Okay, students. This is about freedom of assembly. Okay, in just 2 minutes I will cover it because this is so simple. Fine. So assemble means together. So people can together at a place. Oh, fine. People can together at a place, gather at a place, gathering, but on the public land, not on private land. Okay, on public land. Fine. People can gathering at one place on public land. Okay, fine. But condition is that without arms. Fine, without arms. Okay, fine. And you can assemble without arms. There is certain is never restriction in it, because if there is an information of their respective district magistrate that if there will be some gatherings in a particular region, then that region can be disrupted and public order get disturbed. So if there is an issue arises due to assemble, then it may be restricted. So gathering at one place is assemble, okay, but it should be on public land but without arms. Fine, this is freedom of assembly. I hope this is clear. Now move to the next slide, that is Article 19, clause A, subclause C. Fine students, this is about freedom of association. Freedom of association, actually you can form groups, political parties, association, even cooperative societies. Okay, you have rights, you have fundamental rights to form these groups. You can form groups, political parties, even you can form associations, even you can form associations as well as cooperative societies. This cooperative society term added later. You can form cooperative society, association, political parties, groups. You can form anything, okay, but for legal and moral purpose, legal and moral purpose, you cannot form any terrorist group and say in justification that look, I have the rights to freedom of association, so I am forming a terrorist group, but actually what I said that it should be legal and moral, but that terrorist group is actually illegal and immoral, illegal and immoral. That is why there is certain reasonable restriction on it, freedom of association. Okay, fine. Some drugs mafia forming an association, then they will give justification about it. Okay, so that will not work at all because they are illegal and immoral purpose. Fine, this is just about it. Now moving to the next slide, that is Article 19, clause 1, subclause D. Fine students, Article 19, clause 1, subclause D is about freedom of movement. This is about you can move freely anywhere in India, anywhere within India. Fine, within India you can move freely anywhere within India, within the territory of India. Okay, but there is also certain reasonable restriction on it. Okay, some nuclear power plant places, some sacred places, some security related places, some military camps, okay, national parks, biosphere reserves, it may possible that there is reasonable restriction on movement due to unity, integrity and sovereignty and even security of nation will get distracted. That is why some secret places, some military camps, some nuclear power plants, these are some reasonable restrictions where you can't move freely. Okay, some scheduled tribal area, okay, you have to allow yourself or take, if you have to move in scheduled tribe areas, okay, so you have to take certain acceptance. Okay, now I am talking about Article 19(1), clause 1, subclause E, that is free of residence, freedom of residence. You can reside anywhere in India, you can reside anywhere students, anywhere within Indian territory, fine, you can reside anywhere within Indian territory. So freedom of residence, fine. So freedom of residence is also applicable, but restriction is also applicable here also. So what are the reasonable restrictions? That what I have talking just right now 1 minute earlier, that those places where you can't move freely, actually those are actually the same places almost where you can't reside. Okay, few times earlier when Article 35A was present in Jammu and Kashmir, and Article 370 present, then you can't reside in Jammu and Kashmir. But due to abrogation of Article 35A and Article 370, now even you can reside in Jammu and Kashmir. Fine. So this is a perfect example. Okay. And certain scheduled tribe areas, okay, governor and president fix certain scheduled tribe areas that is restricted to reside for outsiders. Okay. So those areas can't be residable by any outsiders of that place. Fine. So these are the reasonable restrictions. Now comes to the next slide, that is Article 19 clause A subclause F, that is right to property, but this is not useful at all for all of us, just know about it for your comprehension knowledge. Okay, this is right to property now abolished. Okay, prior to 1978 this is in act, but this is now abolished by 44th Constitutional Amendment Act 1978. Fine. This has been abolished. The reason behind is that when government wants to utilize the infrastructure of that area, suppose this is the area and here one power plant government want to build, or one medical hospital, bigger hospital government wants to build, and these are the lands of different individuals. So did individuals have right to property? Okay, so governments find very difficult to acquire these lands, okay, to build up the infrastructure. That is why in according to 44th Constitutional Amendment Act, by doing this amendment in 1978, this right to property has been abolished. Okay, fine. Now let's come to the next slide. Okay, fine. Our next slide is Article 19 subclause A subclause G. Okay, freedom of profession. Fine, students. In India, you can profess any occupation, any profession as your wish, as per your wish. If you want to be a goldsmith, you may be goldsmith. If you want to be a cricketer, you can choose your occupation. If you want to be a merchant, you can choose your occupation. Whatever you want to do according to your wish and according to your choice, fine. You can do whatever you like so. So you have to select your choice of your profession and occupation. No one is going to restrict you, but certain exception, only one exception actually, that is a state can monopolize it. Okay, whenever a state wants, just listen carefully, whenever a state wants, a state can monopolize any kind of occupation. A state can monopolize means if a state say that, look, goldsmith will now not will work individually, and we are working on the gold as the government on monopoly. Okay, so you will not do this profession, actually government will perform this profession. Okay, so you can't go in court and say that, look, this is my freedom of profession and this is abrogating, a state is abrogating my profession. So no, a state did not abrogating your profession, instead a state monopolized it. Okay, a state monopolized that profession. Okay, so a state can monopolize any profession if a state want. Fine, this is the simple one. Now our next slide is, this is about important aspect. Let's see, rights of freedom are not absolute rights. So first of all, understand what are absolute rights. Absolute rights, so under students, absolute rights are those rights which will never be terminated in any kind of situation, but fundamental rights are suspended or may be terminated during emergency provisions. Okay, what are emergency provisions? What are the conditions required for emergency provisions? What are the articles related to emergency provisions? I will discuss all things in the lessons of emergency proclamation. Okay, fine. So fundamental rights are actually not absolute rights. Fine, because they can be terminated at certain time of situations, because depending on the situations it may be possible that emergency could be imposed. Okay, fine. Even 144, section 144 imposed, then also some of the sections of fundamental rights terminated. So how it can be absolute rights? Definitely it is not. Fine, you got my point. Next one is that rights of freedom can be suspended during external emergency, only Article 358. Please note very carefully. I have not written the whole rights, only rights of freedom, rights of freedom. Fine, only rights of freedom can be suspended, during external emergency, not under internal emergency, during external emergency, under Article 358. External emergency imposed under Article 358. This emergency imposed by the process of Article 358. So when external emergency will be imposed, then rights of freedom will be suspended, can be suspended. This is not compulsory, it depends on our cabinet of minister and on the perception of president. So those rights of freedom can be suspended. Okay, rights of freedom or rights, no, rights of freedom, please remember it. Fine. So I hope I am moving to the next slide. If some slides remaining, then I am moving. Okay, otherwise I will finish it. So I am moving the next slide, I am waiting for it. Okay, please move, please move the next slide. What is the next? No, it's over. So students, I am taking a regard that I will attend the current affairs special session that will cover almost 12 to 15, last 12 to 15 months current affairs class. So that class will start from first week of July. Fine, first week of July class will start, and in 3 months, till last September I will cover almost 15-month current affairs. Not only current affairs, I will correlate with a static portion with current affairs, a static portion with current affairs. Suppose let's do that. What are we doing right now? That freedom rights will be suspended during external emergency. Fine. So what will you do that? Suppose in any nations, not only in India, in any nations, particularly in the neighborhood nation of India, if any kind of emergency has been imposed, then it may possible that this question may be asked with regarding to Indian emergency provision. So I will add that current affairs with this static portion, and this kind of quality you have to develop yourself. Otherwise only adopting current affairs will not going to help you in exam like UPSC. Fine, somewhat they will help, but not fully help, they will not help. Okay, fine. So I will attend the full current affairs of almost 12 to 15 months, suppose last 1 year, and I will try to cover 3 to 4 months extra, but only in 3 months. I will take extra session almost per day, or otherwise it's a weekly, then it will be 4 to 5 hour class weekly, or if it's alternate or somewhat it will suitable for me or suitable for our team. Our team is looking into it and developing the materials of that current affairs, and if we will cover the current affairs, that will really help a lot for students appearing in this year UPSC examination as well as appearing for the next year examination. Okay, fine. And the other thing is that I am trying to explain you that another important update, that our class will remain open, fine, from Monday to Saturday. Video will be uploaded at 9 AM, approx 9 AM per day from Monday to Saturday. Sunday will be the off session. Okay, fine. Sunday will be the off session because we have to arrange all the things in a way, in a manner that will help you to do a class in a very good environment for 6 days. Fine. So our faculty members and our teams, okay, do a lot of hard work even on Sunday. So we need some analyzation, some performance analyzation on this day. Okay, so we need some extra time. That is why we are selecting a off day in a week, that is Sunday. Fine. So Monday to Saturday we will upload the video per day at 9 am or between 9 am to 9:30 am. Fine. And another important update from our class is that I will cover an optional class 2, that is PSIR, Political Science and International Relation class. I will cover the full optional paper 1 and optional paper 2 of political science, okay, political science and international relation, and I will try to bring back other faculties and they will cover other optional subjects like history, geography, anthropology and what were in the demand. If you will demand something else, then we will try to provide you the whole optional course, okay. And I will personally attend political science and international relation course, fine. And if you are demanding something else, I will try to bring back some other faculties who will attend other optional classes, fine.